My name is Rebecca, and I'm standing on this stage holding my master's degree diploma, surrounded by hundreds of celebrating graduates and their families. But when I look out into the audience, all I see are 5 empty seats. 5 seats I reserved for the people who were supposed to matter most. My husband, my 2 children, my parents, gone. All of them. You want to know where they were? At my brother's backyard barbecue. Because apparently, a pool party with expensive steaks was more important than watching me walk across this stage after 5 years of hell. 5 years of studying until 2 in the morning. 5 years of missing my kids' bedtimes. 5 years of sacrificing every vacation, every weekend, every moment of rest. And they couldn't give me 3 hours. Not 3 hours. If you've ever felt invisible to the people who are supposed to love you most, stay with me. Because what happened next changed everything. And I mean everything. Let me take you back to how this nightmare began. I'm 35 years old. For the past 12 years, I've been married to Marcus, a software engineer who works at a tech company here in Portland. We have 2 kids together. Tyler is 14, going through that phase where everything his parents do embarrasses him. And Emma is 11, my sweet girl who's starting to care more about her friends than family dinners. We live in a modest 4-bedroom house in the suburbs. Nothing fancy but comfortable. A small backyard where the kids used to play before they got too cool for that. A 2-car garage. A mortgage that keeps me up at night sometimes. I work at Stevenson Financial Group, a mid-sized investment firm where I've been grinding away for almost 9 years now. I'm a financial analyst, which sounds impressive until you realize I'm still stuck in the same position I started in nearly a decade ago. Every year, I watch men with half my experience get promoted ahead of me. Every single year. You need more credentials, Rebecca, my boss would tell me during performance reviews, barely looking up from his paperwork. A bachelor's degree in finance is great, but everyone has that. If you want senior management, you need a master's. After the 3rd time being passed over for promotion, I made a decision. I was going to get that master's degree no matter what it took. The university downtown offered evening MBA classes designed for working professionals. It would take 5 years of part-time study, 5 years of my life, but I thought it would be worth it. I thought it would secure our future. God, I was so naive. What I didn't understand was how brutal the schedule would become, how it would slowly destroy everything I'd built. My typical day looked like this. Wake up at 5:30 in the morning. Make breakfast for everyone. Pack lunches for Tyler and Emma. Get myself ready for work. Commute 45 minutes downtown. Work a full 9-hour day, sometimes longer during tax season. Rush to evening classes 3 nights a week from 6 to 9. Come home exhausted to find a sink full of dishes and homework that still needed checking. On weekends, while Marcus took the kids to soccer games and birthday parties, I locked myself in our home office. Sometimes for 6, 7, 8 hours straight, just me, my laptop, and an endless pile of textbooks and assignments. Mom's always studying, I heard Tyler complain to his father once. I was standing right outside the kitchen door, about to walk in. She's never around anymore. It's like she doesn't even care about us. Those words cut deeper than any knife ever could. But I kept telling myself it was temporary. Just 5 years. 5 years of sacrifice for a lifetime of stability. For a better future for all of us. For that family vacation to Hawaii the kids kept begging for. I kept pushing forward, even as I felt my family slipping away from me. My older brother Kevin complicated everything. He's 38, 3 years older than me, and he's always been the golden child in our family. Always. Kevin runs this successful real estate business. He lives in a waterfront condo that probably costs more than I'll make in 10 years. And because he's single with no kids, he gets to travel to Bali and Costa Rica and post these perfect Instagram photos that my mom comments on constantly with heart emojis. Our parents live 2 states away in Arizona now, retired and living their best life. And they've never tried to hide which child they prefer. When we were kids, they attended every single one of Kevin's football games. But my academic competitions? My debate tournaments? We're too tired, honey, was the usual excuse. As adults, they dropped everything to help Kevin renovate his kitchen last year. Spent 3 weeks out there painting and installing cabinets. But when I needed someone to watch Tyler and Emma during my final exams, oh, sweetie, we already have plans that week. "Your brother is just more fun to be around," my mother actually told me once when I finally confronted her about the favoritism. "You're always so serious, Rebecca. Always stressed about something. Kevin knows how to enjoy life." The irony of being punished for being responsible wasn't lost on me, but I kept my head down, kept studying, kept working, kept sacrificing. I wrote papers after the kids went to bed, often staying awake until 1 or 2 in the morning. I studied flashcards during my lunch breaks at work, barely tasting my food. I gave up vacations, using that time to get ahead on coursework instead of making memories with my family. When friends invited us to dinner parties or weekend trips, I always said no. I had to. There weren't enough hours in the day as it was. Marcus was supportive at first. He picked up some slack around the house, made dinner a few nights a week, encouraged me when I felt like dropping out. But as the years dragged on, his patience wore thin. "How much longer is this going to take?" he'd ask, frustration creeping into his voice. "The kids barely know you anymore, Rebecca. You're like a ghost in this house. Just 2 more years, I'd promise." Then it was 1 more year, then just a few more months. By the time graduation finally approached, our marriage was hanging by a thread. We still loved each other, I think, but we'd become strangers living in the same house. Marcus had his own routine now, his own friends, his own life that didn't include me. He took the kids to community events without even asking if I wanted to come. Because why would he? I'd said no so many times before. I'd missed so many family dinners, so many of Emma's dance recitals, so many of Tyler's basketball games. It became normal for them to do everything without me, which is exactly why this graduation ceremony meant everything to me. It wasn't just about the degree. It wasn't just about finally getting that promotion I'd been chasing for years. It was about showing my family that all those sacrifices meant something. That I hadn't abandoned them for nothing. That their mother was strong and determined and capable of achieving her dreams. I wanted them to see me walk across that stage. To feel proud of me. To understand that women can pursue education and career advancement at any age. I needed that moment of recognition. That validation. That celebration that would make 5 years of exhaustion and isolation finally worth it. When I graduate, I told Marcus about 6 months before the ceremony, I want everyone there. You, the kids, my parents, even my sister Rachel if she can fly in from Denver. This is going to be a huge day for our whole family. Marcus took my hand and squeezed it, looked me right in the eyes. Of course, babe. We wouldn't miss it for the world. Those words felt like a promise, like a guarantee that everything I'd sacrificed would be acknowledged and celebrated. I should have known better. I should have known that promises mean nothing when something more fun comes along. 6 months before graduation, I started planning every detail of what I imagined would be one of the most important days of my life. The university sent out this email with all the ceremony information. Limited guest tickets, only 6 per graduate. I immediately requested the maximum number. 1 for Marcus, 1 each for Tyler and Emma, 1 for my mom, 1 for my dad, and 1 for my sister Rachel. I called my parents in Arizona right away to give them the date. Made them write it down on their calendar while I was still on the phone. "We'll do our best to make it, sweetheart," my mother said in this tone that made my stomach drop. Like she was already thinking about what excuse she'd use to bail. But I stayed optimistic. This was my graduation, my master's degree. Surely they'd prioritize it. I called Rachel next. She lives in Denver with her husband and their 3 kids. Unlike our parents, she actually sounded excited for me. "Oh my God, Becca, I'm so proud of you." She practically screamed into the phone. "Working full-time, raising kids, and getting your MBA. You're incredible. I'll book my flight next week. I promise." Her enthusiasm gave me hope. At least one family member understood what this meant to me. With family attendance seemingly secured, I turned my attention to the celebration afterward. I researched restaurants near the university and found this beautiful Italian place called Marcello's. High-end, but worth it. They could accommodate our party of 8. The reservation deposit was $300. I hesitated for maybe 5 seconds before putting it on my credit card. This was a once-in-a-lifetime event. We'd figure out the money somehow. Since my parents would be traveling from out of state, I also booked them a hotel room at the Sheraton downtown. Used points I'd been saving from work trips. Got them a nice room with a view. Everything was falling into place. For once in 5 years, I let myself feel excited about something other than just surviving to the next deadline. 2 months before graduation, I went shopping for a new dress. I hadn't bought myself anything nice in years. Everything went to the kids' needs or household expenses or my tuition payments. But this time, I walked into Nordstrom and tried on dresses until I found the perfect one. A sophisticated navy blue sheath dress with delicate lace sleeves. It would look professional under my graduation gown, but elegant enough for the dinner afterward. $350. I almost put it back, but then I thought about how long it had been since I'd felt beautiful. Since I'd done something just for myself, I bought it. When I tried it on at home, Emma walked into my bedroom and stopped in her tracks. "Mom, you look so pretty," she said, her eyes wide. "Like in your wedding pictures with Dad." I actually cried. Right there in front of my 11-year-old daughter, because I couldn't remember the last time anyone had called me pretty. The last time I'd felt like something other than a tired, stressed-out machine just going through the motions. 3 weeks before graduation, my brother Kevin called. He does this sometimes, reaches out when he remembers he has a sister, usually when he wants to brag about something. We made small talk for a few minutes. He asked about my studies in this polite but disinterested way. Then he dropped his bomb. "By the way, I'm throwing this massive barbecue at my place on May 15th, he announced, all casual. "Just got this incredible new outdoor kitchen installed. Top of the line. I'm breaking it in with a huge party. You guys should come. The kids would love my pool." My heart stopped. "Kevin, that's my graduation day." Silence on the other end of the line. Then, "Oh, right, I forgot about that. Forgot." He forgot about the graduation I'd been talking about for 6 months. "Can you change your party to another weekend?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, trying not to sound as desperate as I felt. "Not really," he said, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. "I've already invited like 40 people, including some major clients who are only in town that weekend. Big networking opportunity for me." My blood started to boil. "But Kevin, my family is supposed to be at my graduation. This is important to me." "Come on, Rebecca," he said, and I heard that dismissive tone he's perfected since we were kids. "It's just a graduation. You already had one for your bachelor's degree. This is just a piece of paper saying you took some extra classes." Just a piece of paper. 5 years of my life reduced to extra classes. I couldn't even form words. My throat closed up with anger and hurt. "Look, Mom and Dad are coming to my barbecue," Kevin continued, completely oblivious to my distress. Or maybe not oblivious, maybe just not caring. "They already confirmed. And they're bringing Aunt Linda and Uncle Joe, who are visiting from Florida. You know how rarely we see them." Now I was furious. "You told Mom and Dad about your barbecue before checking with me? Even though you knew my graduation was coming up?" "I didn't realize it was such a big deal," he said defensively. "You're 35, not 22. It's not like this is your first rodeo." We argued for another 15 minutes. Kevin refused to budge, refused to even consider changing his party date. By the time I hung up, I was shaking and fighting back tears. I immediately called my mother. Surely she would see reason. Surely she would choose her daughter's master's degree graduation over a backyard barbecue. "Mom, Kevin scheduled his party on my graduation day," I said as soon as she answered. "You can't go to that instead of my ceremony?" she sighed. Like I was being difficult. Like I was the problem. "Oh, honey, what terrible timing. Can't you both reschedule?" "No, Mom. The university doesn't change commencement dates for individual students. I told you about this 6 months ago. You wrote it on your calendar." "Well, it's just so difficult," she said, her voice taking on that martyr tone she uses when she wants sympathy. "Your aunt and uncle will be here from Florida, and you know how your father loves Kevin's parties. Can't we come to both?" "Both." She actually suggested attending both events that were 200 miles apart and overlapping by 3 hours. The conversation deteriorated from there. My mother suggested I was being selfish for not understanding the family's desire to see relatives who were visiting, as if Kevin's party was some kind of unavoidable obligation and my graduation was just an inconvenient scheduling conflict. I hung up feeling crushed. Absolutely crushed. That evening, I told Marcus everything, poured out my hurt and frustration while he listened. I expected his immediate support, his outrage on my behalf. He rubbed my back while I cried. Your family has always been like this, babe, he said gently. But listen, you'll still have us there. Me and the kids. We'll be your cheering section. That's what really matters, right? His words calmed me down. He was right. As long as my husband and children were there supporting me, I could handle my parents choosing Kevin again. Promise me you three will be there, I said, looking into his eyes. No matter what. I promise, Marcus said, and he kissed my forehead. Nothing could keep us away. Rebecca. I desperately wanted to believe him. The day before my graduation arrived with a chaos of last-minute preparations and mounting anxiety. I picked up my cap and gown from the university bookstore, handling them with this reverence like they were made of gold instead of cheap polyester. I hung them carefully in our bedroom closet where I could see them. I polished my black heels until they shined, charged my phone and camera to full battery, triple-checked the ceremony time and location even though I'd memorized them weeks ago. My excitement was overshadowed by this creeping dread I couldn't shake. Despite Marcus's promises, something felt off. 2 days earlier, I'd received a formal email from my parents. Not even a phone call, an email, explaining in this overly polite, distant language that they would be attending Kevin's barbecue instead of my graduation. We promised to take you to a nice dinner next time we're in town to celebrate, the email said. I read it once. Then I deleted it without responding. What was there to say? Rachel had called with genuine regret to tell me her youngest daughter had come down with chickenpox, making travel impossible. I understood completely. Kids come first, but it was still another disappointment piling onto the others. At least I still have you three, I said to Marcus that evening while we made dinner together. He just nodded, his attention fixed on his phone. He'd been texting constantly all day, but I didn't think much of it. Work stuff, probably. Then my phone rang. My mother's number. Rebecca, sweetie, I just wanted to confirm the kids are still coming to Kevin's tomorrow, she said, like it was the most natural thing in the world. He's setting up all these games for the children. Tyler and Emma are on his list for the water balloon tournament. The room started spinning. What? No, Mom. The kids are coming to my graduation with Marcus. Oh, she sounded confused. Kevin said Marcus mentioned bringing them to the barbecue. There will be several families there with kids their ages. And Kevin hired a lifeguard for the pool. They'll have so much more fun than sitting through a boring ceremony. My hands started shaking. I set down the knife I'd been using to chop vegetables, turned slowly to look at Marcus across the kitchen. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Mom, I have to go, I said, and ended the call. The silence in our kitchen was suffocating. Marcus, I said quietly, dangerously, why does my mother think you're bringing the kids to Kevin's barbecue tomorrow? He finally looked up, guilt written all over his face. I might have mentioned to Kevin that the kids were asking about the party. They heard about it from their cousins. They're really excited about the pool and the games, and you told him you were bringing them? My voice was getting louder. Without discussing it with me first? Rebecca, be reasonable, Marcus said, and I wanted to throw something at him. The ceremony is going to be 3 hours of sitting still while hundreds of names are called. The kids will be bored out of their minds. So instead of teaching them about supporting family, about honoring achievements, you're teaching them that fun always comes first? Of course not, Marcus defended. But Tyler has been talking nonstop about swimming with his cousins. And Emma heard that her friend Madison from soccer will be there. Madison's whole family is invited. So what are you saying? I demanded. That you want to take our children to a barbecue instead of watching their mother graduate? Can't we compromise? Marcus suggested, his tone infuriatingly reasonable. Maybe I take the kids to the party and meet you at the restaurant afterward? Or I come to the ceremony alone and drop the kids at Kevin's first. I stared at him. Actually stared at this man I'd been married to for 12 years. Do you hear yourself? This isn't a business negotiation. This is about being there for me on one of the most important days of my life. You're being dramatic, Marcus muttered. It's just a graduation ceremony. Just a graduation ceremony. Kevin's exact words. 5 years, Marcus, I said, my voice shaking. 5 years of missing bedtimes because I was studying. 5 years of staying awake until 2 a.m. writing papers. 5 years of using every vacation day for exams instead of family trips. 5 years of you complaining about my absence and the kids feeling neglected. And now that it's finally over, now that I need one day, just one single day of support, you're all too busy for a barbecue? The kids should decide for themselves what they want to do, Marcus said. They're 14 and 11, I shouted. Of course they'd rather go to a pool party than a graduation. That's why parents are supposed to make decisions based on values, not on what's more entertaining. Our voices had carried upstairs. Tyler and Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway, drawn by our argument. When they realized we were fighting about them, they immediately took their father's side. Graduation ceremonies are so boring. Mom, Tyler said with all the disdain a 14-year-old can muster. Nobody wants to sit there for 3 hours. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Why do you want to ruin our fun? She asked. All our cousins will be there. You never let us do anything fun anymore. That last sentence hit me like a physical blow. I went upstairs without another word. Locked myself in our bedroom. Couldn't eat dinner. Couldn't even cry. Just lay there in the dark, numb. Marcus slept on the couch that night. A rare occurrence in our marriage. As I stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep, I wondered how we'd gotten here. How my family had become so disconnected from my life that they couldn't give me one afternoon of support. I'd pursued this degree for them. To provide a better life. To be a role model for my children. To show them that determination and hard work matter, but they couldn't care less. My graduation dress hung in the corner like a ghost, mocking me, reminding me of how foolish I'd been to think this day would be special. I finally fell asleep around 4 a.m, emotionally and physically exhausted. When I woke up a few hours later, the house was silent. I reached across the bed. Marcus's side was empty and cold. Downstairs, I found a note on the kitchen counter. His handwriting, rushed and careless, took the kids to Kevin's early to help set up. We'll try to make it back for your ceremony. Congratulations. Marcus, we'll try. Those 2 words destroyed what was left of my hope. I crumpled the note and threw it in the trash. Made myself coffee with shaking hands. The house felt enormous and empty around me. I had a hair appointment at 10. Makeup at 11. The ceremony started at 2, with graduates required to arrive by 1 for lineup. I went through the motions like a robot. Got my hair styled in elegant curls. Let the makeup artist cover my puffy, sleep-deprived eyes with concealer and foundation. Big day. The makeup artist said cheerfully. You must be so excited. I forced a smile. Yeah, really excited. Back home, I put on my navy blue dress. Straightened the cap on my carefully styled hair. Zipped up the graduation gown. I stood in front of our full-length mirror and took a selfie. Tried to smile. Tried to look happy. Posted it to Facebook with a caption about achieving your dreams and never giving up. Tagged Marcus and my parents and Kevin out of habit. Or maybe spite. The comments started immediately. Co-workers, old college friends. Distant relatives. Everyone congratulating me and saying how proud they were. Everyone except the people who mattered most. I texted Marcus. Leaving for the ceremony now. Are you still planning to come? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Reappeared. Finally, Tyler fell by the pool. Nothing serious, but lots of crying. Might be running late. Save us seats if you can. Save seats. In a general admission family section. For a ceremony that started in an hour, he wasn't coming. I knew it. He knew it. But he couldn't even be honest about it. I didn't bother responding. The drive to the university was a blur. I parked in the crowded garage, walked to the auditorium in a daze. Around me, graduates greeted family members. Posed for photos. Received bouquets and balloons. Everyone laughing and excited, I kept my head down. Found my place in the alphabetical lineup. Tried to ignore the happy chaos around me. My phone buzzed with supportive messages from Linda, my co-worker who'd promised to attend. From Professor Morrison, my favorite instructor. From people who barely knew me but still took time to acknowledge this achievement. But nothing from my family. We processed into the auditorium to pomp and circumstance. A sea of black gowns and mortar, boards. From my seat, I scanned the audience, searching for Marcus's face, for my kids, knowing they wouldn't be there but looking anyway. The ceremony began. Speeches from administrators, an alumni speaker talking about perseverance and work-life balance. Words that felt directed at me. Words that felt like a cruel joke. When they called my department, I stood with my row, my heart pounding. In those moments before they called my name, I made a decision. I would celebrate this for myself. Not for anyone else. I had earned this. Me alone, Rebecca Ann Cooper, Master of Business Administration, with honors. I walked across that stage with my head high, shook the dean's hand, accepted my diploma case, moved my tassel from right to left, polite applause. Same as for every other graduate. No special cheers, no one calling my name, just anonymous recognition from strangers witnessing another stranger's accomplishment. And for some reason, that was okay. In that moment, it was enough. After the ceremony ended, I stood at the edge of the lawn watching families celebrate around me. Graduates tossing their caps in the air, parents handing over flower bouquets, champagne bottles being opened. I felt like a ghost, present but invisible, there but not really part of it. I took a few obligatory photos with classmates I'd studied with over the years. But I couldn't shake the feeling of being an imposter in their joy. My phone stayed silent. No calls from Marcus. No texts from the kids. Nothing from my parents or Kevin. Then I made the mistake of checking social media. Kevin had posted new photos from his barbecue, tagged everyone, including Marcus, Tyler, and Emma. The photos showed them gathered around an expensive-looking fire pit, roasting marshmallows. Everyone smiling and laughing. The timestamp said 30 minutes ago, right in the middle of my graduation ceremony. Something inside me broke. Just snapped completely. I found a quiet corner behind the science building where no one could see me. And I lost it. Ugly crying that smeared my careful makeup and left me gasping for air. 5 years. 5 years of sacrifice for this moment. And they were roasting marshmallows at a barbecue instead. When I finally pulled myself together, I decided to cancel the restaurant reservation. There was no point anymore. As I pulled up the restaurant's number, my phone suddenly lit up with an incoming call from Marcus. Then I noticed something that made my heart stop. 45 missed calls, all from Marcus, all within the last hour. My phone had been on silent during the ceremony. I'd forgotten to turn the ringer back on. 45 missed calls could only mean one thing: an emergency. I called him back immediately, already running toward the parking garage. He answered on the first ring. "Rebecca, thank God. I've been calling you for over an hour." What happened? I was breathless, terrified. "Is everyone okay?" "It's Tyler," Marcus said, his voice high and panicked. He was climbing on Kevin's new water slide, showing off for his cousins. He fell hard. "We're at Pacific Memorial Hospital. The doctor thinks his arm is broken." I was already in my car, engine running. "I'm coming right now." "How bad is it? Is he in pain?" "They gave him something for the pain, but he's pretty shaken up." "He's been asking for you, Rebecca." "He wants his mom." That last part sent a wave of conflicting emotions through me. Relief that he wanted me. Anger that suddenly now my presence mattered. "I'll be there in 15 minutes, I said, and hung up. The drive to the hospital was a blur of anxiety and residual hurt. I alternated between worrying about Tyler and fighting. The bitter voice in my head asking where this concern had been. 3 hours ago, Pacific Memorial's emergency entrance was packed with the usual Saturday afternoon chaos. I found parking, grabbed my purse, and ran inside. Still wearing my graduation dress, my carefully styled hair falling loose around my shoulders. My diploma case sat forgotten on the passenger seat. I gave Tyler's name at reception and was directed to Bay 7. Drawing back the curtain, I found a scene that stopped me cold. Tyler lay on the hospital bed, his right arm in a temporary splint, his face tear-stained but calmer now. Around him stood Marcus and Emma, but also my parents, and Kevin. All gathered around my injured son. They all turned to look at me as I entered. "Mom!" Tyler's voice cracked. "You came!" I went straight to him, maternal instinct overriding everything else. "Of course I came, baby. How are you feeling?" The doctor, a kind-faced woman named Dr. Martinez, explained that Tyler had a simple fracture of the radius. Painful but straightforward. A cast for 6 weeks and he'd heal completely. "He was very brave," my mother said, patting Tyler's leg. "Barely cried after the initial fall." I nodded, but couldn't bring myself to engage with her. The fact that they were all here, gathered around my son, when they couldn't be bothered to attend my graduation, felt like salt in an open wound. Kevin stepped forward. Thank God you got here, sis. The kid's been asking for you nonstop, his casual tone. Acting like this was just a normal family gathering. Like nothing was wrong. It snapped something inside me. Thank God I got here, I repeated quietly, as opposed to where I was before, graduating, alone, while my entire family enjoyed a barbecue. The room went silent. Marcus shot me a warning look. Not now, his eyes pleaded. Not here, but 5 years of exhaustion and hurt had reached a breaking point. I just spent the most important day of my professional life completely alone, I continued, my voice steady but shaking with emotion. No husband, no children, no parents, not even a text message, because a pool party was more important than 5 years of sacrifice. Rebecca, my father began in that patronizing tone he uses when he thinks I'm being unreasonable. This is hardly the time or place. When is the time, Dad? I cut him off. When I'm back to being invisible? When I'm back to being the responsible one who never gets acknowledged? When I'm back to putting everyone else first, while none of you can spare a single afternoon for me? My mother looked genuinely confused. Honey, we didn't realize it meant this much to you. It's just a graduation ceremony. Just a ceremony, I repeated bitterly. Just like it's just a degree. Just an accomplishment. Just my entire life. Kevin shifted uncomfortably. Look, what matters now is that Tyler's going to be okay. This was an emergency, and if there hadn't been an emergency, I challenged him. Would any of you have felt even a moment of regret for missing my graduation? Would you have thought about me at all today? The silence was my answer. Marcus stepped toward me. Rebecca, you're upset, and you have every right to be. But Tyler needs calm right now. We can discuss this later. I looked at my son. He was watching the adult drama unfold with wide, frightened eyes. Emma stood beside him, chewing her lip nervously. He was right. They didn't deserve to be caught in this. You're right, I said, taking a deep breath. Tyler needs us focused on him. I spent the next hour being mom, asking questions about his treatment, making sure he understood what would happen with the casting, holding his good hand while they took him for x-rays, being the parent I always was, even when no one else noticed. When we returned from the casting room, Tyler's arm now in a bright blue cast. I found the emergency bay empty except for Marcus. My parents and Kevin had left. Gone back to the barbecue, probably. The doctor says we can take him home, Marcus said, handing me the discharge paperwork. He has a prescription for pain medication. I nodded mechanically. I'll take him home. You can pick up the prescription. Rebecca, Marcus started. About today. Not now, I cut him off. Not in front of Tyler. My phone rang. Linda, my coworker who'd promised to attend the ceremony. Rebecca, where are you? I've been looking everywhere. I thought we were meeting by the fountain after graduation. I'd completely forgotten our plan in the chaos. Linda, I'm so sorry. I'm at the hospital. Tyler broke his arm. Oh my God, is he okay? Her immediate concern, from someone who barely knew my son, felt like both a comfort and an indictment of my actual family. He'll be fine. Just a broken arm. Do you need anything? Company? Food? Someone to pick up prescriptions? Actually, I said, my voice breaking slightly, could you maybe come by later? I could really use a friend. Of course. I'll bring dinner. Text me your address. After hanging up, I noticed Marcus watching me with an odd expression. Who was that? Linda from work. She actually came to my graduation, since no one else did. Before he could respond, my parents and Kevin returned with coffee and snacks from the cafeteria. My mother immediately fussed over Tyler's cast while my father asked about follow-up appointments. Like nothing had happened. Like everything was normal. We're taking Tyler home now, I announced. He needs rest. We'll come with you, my mother said. Help with dinner and getting him settled. No. The word came out harder than I intended. Thank you, but no. Linda is bringing dinner. I can manage my own son. My father looked shocked. But we came all this way. To go to Kevin's barbecue, I finished for him. Which you're welcome to return to. I need space right now. The stunned silence that followed felt like power. Like taking control of my own life for the first time in years. But we were planning to stay until tomorrow. My mother protested weakly. You can stay at Kevin's, I suggested coolly. I'm sure his guest room is much nicer than the hotel room I booked for you. The one you never used because you chose a barbecue over your daughter's graduation. Kevin looked like he might argue. But something in my expression stopped him. We parted awkwardly in the hospital parking lot. My parents looking genuinely hurt. Kevin uncharacteristically subdued. Me feeling simultaneously guilty and liberated. Marcus drove our car with Tyler carefully secured in the back and Emma unusually quiet beside her brother. Continue. I sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window, physically and emotionally drained. At home, I helped Tyler get comfortable on the living room couch, propped his arm up with pillows, put on his favorite show, made sure he had water and his pain medication within reach. Emma disappeared to her room, sensing the tension between her parents. Marcus hovered in the doorway between the living room and kitchen, waiting for the inevitable. "I'm going to change," I said quietly. "Then we need to talk." Upstairs, I peeled off the navy blue dress that should have represented triumph. Instead, it felt like a costume from the worst performance of my life. I caught sight of myself in the mirror. Smeared makeup, hair falling out of its elegant style, eyes red and swollen. I looked destroyed. I put on yoga pants and an old t-shirt, washed my face clean, pulled my hair into a messy bun. When I came back downstairs, Marcus was in the kitchen, unpacking Tyler's prescription bag. "Alicia," he started, and I noticed he couldn't even look at me. "I know you're angry." "Angry doesn't begin to cover it," I interrupted. "I feel betrayed, Marcus. By you most of all." Now he looked up, and I saw shame there. "Real shame. I made a terrible mistake," he said. "I thought the kids would have more fun at the barbecue, and I didn't realize how important—" "How could you not realize?" My voice cracked. "I've been talking about this for months. I specifically asked you to promise. You promised, Marcus. You looked me in the eyes and promised you'd be there." "I know," he said miserably. "When Kevin invited us and the kids got so excited, it just seemed like, I don't know. It seemed harmless at the time." "Harmless," I repeated. "Choosing a pool party over supporting your wife is harmless?" Marcus leaned against the counter, running both hands through his hair. "You're right. I completely screwed up. But does one mistake erase 12 years of marriage? One mistake?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "This isn't one mistake, Marcus. This is 5 years of you complaining about my absence. 5 years of you making me feel guilty for studying. 5 years of you taking the kids places without even asking if I wanted to come. And then, on the one day I needed you to show up for me, you chose my brother's party instead." "That's not fair," he protested. "I've been holding this house together while you were in class 3 nights a week. I've been managing work and childcare and everything else. I've supported you in ways you don't even see. And I've been working full-time while studying nights and weekends for 5 years." My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "We've both made sacrifices. The difference is, I would never, ever have missed an important milestone in your life. Never. The truth of that hung between us. And Marcus knew it. For all his complaints about my absence, I had always shown up for him. Always. "What do you want me to do?" he asked finally. "How do I fix this?" I shook my head slowly. "I don't know if you can fix it. Not immediately. I need time to think about what this means for us. About whether I can trust you. Are you saying you want a divorce?" Real fear entered his voice now. "No," I said. "I'm saying I need space. I'm going to stay at that hotel room I booked for my parents. Just for a week. I need to clear my head. Rebecca, be reasonable. Tyler has a broken arm. He needs his mother. Tyler has a father," I said sharply. "A father who apparently makes all the decisions around here anyway. He'll be fine with you. The hotel costs money we don't have." "I already paid for it," I cut him off. "And I just earned a master's degree that's going to get me a promotion with a significant raise. Money won't be a problem much longer." Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, but he was in no position to deny me anything right now. "When will you leave?" "After Linda brings dinner." After I explained to the kids that this isn't about them. Right on cue, the doorbell rang. Linda stood on our porch holding bags of takeout from my favorite Thai restaurant. "I brought enough to feed an army," she said, pulling me into a hug. "How's Tyler?" "He'll be okay." "Come in." Linda greeted Marcus politely but coolly. She'd heard enough of my stories over the years to know exactly what had happened today. We set up dinner at the kitchen table. Tyler stayed on the couch, his appetite diminished by pain medication. Emma came down reluctantly when I called her. Over pad thai and spring rolls, Linda did something my family hadn't done all day. She asked about my graduation. How did the ceremony go? Did they call you by name? Were there a lot of graduates? I found myself describing it. The walk across the stage, the weight of the diploma case in my hands, the dean's congratulations. Linda listened like it mattered, like my achievement was worth celebrating. Marcus ate in silence, looking increasingly uncomfortable. After dinner, while Linda helped clean up, I asked Tyler and Emma to sit with me in the living room. I need to talk to you both about something, I began, sitting on the coffee table so I could face them. I'm going to stay at a hotel for about a week. Emma's eyes immediately filled with tears. You're leaving us? Not leaving, I corrected gently. Just taking some time to myself. Sometimes adults need space to think, like when you get overwhelmed and need alone time in your room. Is it because we missed your graduation? Tyler asked. His voice was small despite his 14 years. Partly, I admitted. I wasn't going to lie to them. I was very hurt by that. But this is more about me figuring out what I need going forward. Are you and Dad getting divorced? Emma whispered. No, sweetie. At least I don't think so. We just need to work through some things. And I need some quiet to think clearly. Tyler looked at his cast, his voice even quieter. I'm sorry I wanted to go to the party instead. I moved to sit beside him, careful not to jostle his injured arm. This isn't your fault, Tyler. You're a kid. Kids want to have fun. That's normal. The adults in your life should have made better decisions. I am proud of you, Mom, he said, finally looking at me. Even though I didn't see you graduate, I know you worked really hard. Those simple words from my teenage son meant more than any ceremony could have. Emma climbed into my lap, something she hadn't done in years. We really messed up, didn't we? We'll figure it out, I promised, hugging her close. Families mess up sometimes. What matters is learning from it. After tucking both kids in with extra hugs, I packed a small suitcase. Linda had already left, pressing a business card for her therapist into my hand before she went. Call her, Linda had said. This is bigger than one bad day. You need support. I stood in my bedroom looking around at 12 years of marriage. Photos on the dresser. Marcus's clothes mixed with mine in the closet. Evidence of a shared life. Tomorrow I would leave this house. Not forever, just long enough to figure out who Rebecca Cooper was, outside of being a wife and mother and eternal caretaker. As I zipped up my suitcase, Marcus appeared in the doorway. I really am sorry, he said. For what it's worth, I know you are. But sorry doesn't undo what happened. Sorry doesn't give me back what I lost today, he nodded, looking older somehow. What do I tell people? If they ask where you are, tell them the truth, I said. Tell them I finally decided to put myself first for once. The Sheraton hotel room was nothing special. Standard furniture, generic artwork, a queen bed with too many decorative pillows, but it was quiet, peaceful, mine. I checked in late that night, still emotionally raw but strangely calm. The desk clerk didn't ask why a woman in yoga pants was checking into a hotel alone with red, swollen eyes. I was grateful for that small mercy. Once inside the room, I collapsed onto the bed fully clothed, stared at the ceiling, and for the first time in 5 years, I had nothing I needed to do. No papers to write, no textbooks to study, no family demanding my attention, just silence. I slept for 12 straight hours, the sleep of the completely exhausted. When I woke up the next morning, sunlight was streaming through the curtains. My phone showed dozens of notifications, texts from Marcus checking in, messages from my mother trying to defend herself, a long email from Kevin that I deleted without reading, and one text from Linda. How are you doing? Remember to take care of yourself today. You deserve rest. I ordered room service for the first time in my life. Scrambled eggs and coffee that someone else made. Ate breakfast in bed while watching trashy TV. No guilt. No rushing. Just existing. Around noon, I called to check on Tyler. Hey, Mom, he answered, sounding groggy from pain medication. When are you coming home? Not yet, buddy. How's your arm feeling? It hurts a little. Dad's making mac and cheese for lunch. The kind from the box, not your homemade kind. I smiled despite everything. Sometimes box mac and cheese is okay. He also forgot to take Emma to her dance class this morning, Tyler added. And I heard Marcus yelling in the background that it was Saturday, not Sunday, and the class wasn't until tomorrow. Classic Marcus. Even with 2 kids to manage, he couldn't keep their schedules straight. I'd been doing it for 12 years while working full-time and going to school. He'll figure it out, I said. I'll call you tomorrow, okay? After hanging up, I realized I felt no urge to rush home and fix things. No panic about Marcus messing up schedules or feeding the kids junk food. For once, it wasn't my problem to solve. Over the next few days, I fell into a routine. Sleep, room service, long walks around downtown Portland, coffee shops where I sat alone with my thoughts. I visited a bookstore and bought novels for pleasure reading. When was the last time I'd read something that wasn't a textbook? I went to a spa and got a massage. The therapist commented on how tense my muscles were. Years of stress literally locked into my body. On day 3, I called the therapist whose card Linda had given me, Dr. Sarah Kim. She had an opening the next afternoon. Dr. Kim's office was in a renovated Victorian house, warm and welcoming. She was probably mid-40s, with kind eyes and an easy manner. "Tell me what brings you here," she said, once we'd settled into comfortable chairs. And I told her everything. The 5 years of sacrifice, the graduation, the empty seats, the betrayal, the hospital. All of it came pouring out. Dr. Kim listened without interrupting. When I finally finished, she asked one simple question. "When was the last time you did something just for yourself before this week?" I couldn't answer. I literally couldn't think of a single instance. "Rebecca," she said gently, "you've been running on empty for so long that you don't even know who you are anymore outside of serving others." This breakdown was inevitable. So what do I do? You start by figuring out what you need, not what your family needs, not what your job needs, what you need to be healthy and whole. We talked for 90 minutes. She gave me homework, make a list of boundaries I needed to establish, things I would no longer accept, things I deserved. That night, alone in my hotel room, I started writing. I need a partner who values my achievements equally to his own and our children's. I need children who understand that parents have dreams too. I need parents who don't play favorites. I need to stop sacrificing my well-being for everyone else's convenience. I need recognition for my contributions, not just criticism when I fall short. I need time for myself without guilt. I need my family to show up for me the way I've always shown up for them. The list grew to 3 pages. Years of unmet needs and swallowed resentments finally given voice. On day 4, my father called. Not my mother. My father, who rarely made these kinds of calls. "Rebecca, your mother is devastated," he began. "She hasn't stopped crying since the hospital. I'm sorry she's upset," I said calmly. "But I'm not apologizing for finally standing up for myself. She didn't realize the graduation meant so much to you. Dad, she absolutely did. I told her months ago. I reminded her multiple times. She chose Kevin's party anyway. And you know why? Because she's always chosen Kevin. Both of you have." Silence on the line. "That's not true." "It is true," I interrupted. "My entire childhood, you attended every one of Kevin's football games. You missed my academic competitions. As adults, you drop everything to help him but find excuses when I need you. You can't even see the favoritism because it's so ingrained. We love you both equally. Maybe you do. But you don't show it equally. And I'm done pretending it doesn't hurt." More silence. "What do you want from us?" he asked finally. "I want you to acknowledge the pattern. I want actual change, not just promises. And I want you to understand that if you can't do that, our relationship will never be the same." We talked for another hour. It was the most honest conversation I'd ever had with my father. He didn't admit everything, but he didn't deny it either. It was a start. On day 5, Marcus came to the hotel. I'd agreed to meet him in the lobby restaurant for dinner. He looked terrible. Unshaven, wearing the same shirt I'd seen him in 2 days ago via FaceTime with the kids. Dark circles under his eyes. "The house is a disaster," he said, sitting down across from me. "I have no idea how you kept everything running. Tyler needs help with homework I can't figure out. Emma has been crying every night, asking when you're coming home. I burned dinner twice. The laundry is piling up, and I missed an important work meeting because I forgot to arrange after-school care." I felt no satisfaction in his struggle, just a deep weariness. "Welcome to my life for the past 5 years, I said quietly, while also working full-time and going to graduate school. "I get it now," Marcus said, and he looked genuinely broken. "I've been taking you for granted, expecting you to do everything while complaining that you weren't doing enough. I see it now. What changed?" I asked. "What made you see it?" "Living it," he said simply. "1 week of being the only parent, the only one managing everything, and I'm falling apart. You did this for 5 years while also studying, and I gave you no credit, just criticism." I took a sip of water, processing his words. "Rebecca, I don't want to lose you," Marcus continued, his voice breaking. "I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm asking for one anyway. I'll do whatever it takes. Couples therapy, taking on more at home, actually supporting you instead of undermining you. Whatever you need. I need to know you're serious," I said. "Not just panicking because managing 2 kids alone is hard. I need to know you understand what you did wrong and why it was so damaging." "I do understand," he insisted. "I chose a party over supporting you on one of the most important days of your life. I taught our kids that fun matters more than showing up for family. I broke a promise. I broke your trust." He paused, wiping at his eyes. "And worse than that, I've been breaking your trust slowly for 5 years, making you feel guilty for pursuing your education, acting like you were selfish for having goals, taking credit for holding things together when you were the one doing most of the work, even while in school." His self-awareness surprised me. He'd clearly been doing some serious thinking this week, too. "So what are you proposing?" I asked. "Come home," he said. "Let's start over. Fresh boundaries, fair division of labor, couples counseling twice a month. I want to be your partner, Rebecca. Your real partner, not another child you have to manage." I studied his face. The desperation there, but also something that looked like genuine understanding. "I'll come home," I said slowly. "But things will be different. I'm starting my new position at work next week. Senior analyst with a 40% pay raise. My hours will be longer. I'll travel occasionally for conferences, and I need you to step up equally at home." "I will," Marcus promised. "Whatever you need." "I also need family therapy," I continued. "All 4 of us. The kids need to understand what happened and why, and we need to rebuild as a family unit." Agreed. "And Marcus," I looked him directly in the eyes, "if you ever make me feel like my accomplishments don't matter again, I'm done. No second chances, no negotiations. I'll leave and I won't come back." He nodded solemnly. "I understand." We sat in silence for a moment. The restaurant hummed with other people's conversations around us. "Do you forgive me?" Marcus asked quietly. "I don't know yet," I answered honestly. "Ask me again in 6 months, after I've seen whether these promises turn into action." It wasn't the romantic reconciliation he probably hoped for, but it was honest, and maybe that was more important. On day 7, I packed my small suitcase and checked out of the Sheraton. The week alone had given me something I desperately needed: perspective. I wasn't the same woman who'd checked in 7 days ago. I'd shed something heavy during those quiet days, the weight of constantly trying to earn love and recognition from people who should have given it freely. When I pulled into our driveway, the front door flew open. Emma came running out, followed more slowly by Tyler, still being careful with his cast. "Mom!" Emma crashed into me with the force of an 11-year-old who'd been holding in a week's worth of worry. Tyler joined the hug more carefully. "We missed you so much." Marcus stood on the porch, hanging back to let the kids have their moment. When I finally looked up at him, he gave me a tentative smile. Inside, the house was, well, it was a mess, but an honest mess. Dishes in the sink, laundry basket overflowing, mail piled on the counter. Evidence of a single parent struggling to keep everything together. "I didn't clean before you came home," Marcus said, following my gaze. "I thought about it, but then I realized you should see what it really looks like when I'm doing this alone. No pretending. I appreciated the honesty, even if the mess made my fingers itch to start organizing. "We'll clean together," I said, "after we talk." I called a family meeting at the kitchen table, all 4 of us sitting together. Something we hadn't done in months outside of rushed dinners. "I want to talk about what happened at my graduation," I began, "and I need everyone to really listen." The kids nodded solemnly. "When you all chose Uncle Kevin's barbecue instead of my ceremony, it hurt me deeply. Not just because you weren't there, but because it felt like my accomplishment didn't matter to you." "It does matter, Mom," Emma said quickly. "We know that now. Let me finish, sweetheart, I said gently. For 5 years, I sacrificed time with you. I missed bedtimes and soccer games and school events. I did that because I was building a better future for our family, and I needed you to witness the end of that sacrifice, to understand that hard work pays off, that education matters, that your mom is strong and determined. Tyler looked down at his cast, shame written across his face. But instead of learning that lesson, you learned that fun is more important than support. That commitments can be broken if something better comes along. And that's on the adults in your life who should have made better choices. I turned to Marcus. Especially you. As their father and my husband, you should have been teaching them about showing up for family. Instead, you taught them the opposite, Marcus nodded. You're absolutely right. And I'm sorry. To all of you. I made a terrible decision, and I'm going to spend a long time making up for it. So here's what's going to change, I continued. First, we're starting family therapy. All 4 of us. We need to learn how to communicate better and support each other better. No arguments from anyone. Second, the housework and parenting responsibilities are going to be split much more fairly. I'm starting a new position at work that's more demanding, and I need everyone to contribute more at home. What do you need us to do? Tyler asked. I pulled out a chart I'd made at the hotel. Chores divided by age appropriateness and fairness. Everyone had responsibilities. Even Marcus, whose list was longest. This is non-negotiable, I said, attaching the chart to the refrigerator with a magnet. If you don't do your chores, there are consequences. No more mom doing everything while everyone else relaxes. Emma studied the chart. I can do this. I want to help more, Mom. I'm sorry I didn't before. Third point, I continued. We're going to have weekly family meetings. Every Sunday evening, we sit together and talk about our week. Upcoming events, concerns, celebrations, everything. No more last-minute surprises or miscommunications. And fourth, I looked at each of them in turn. We're going to celebrate each other's achievements. Big or small, Tyler's basketball games, Emma's dance recitals, Dad's work presentations, my career milestones. We show up for each other, always, no exceptions. What if there's a conflict? Emma asked. Then we discuss it as a family and find a compromise. But the default is always support first, fun second. Understand? They all nodded. We spent the next hour cleaning the house together. Everyone pitching in. Marcus tackling the kitchen disaster. Tyler organizing the mail with his good hand. Emma starting laundry. Me coordinating and helping where needed. It felt different. Like a real team instead of me doing everything while they watched TV. That evening, after the kids were in bed, Marcus and I had our own private conversation. I found a couples therapist, he said. Dr. Michael Chen. He specializes in rebuilding trust after betrayal. We have our first appointment on Thursday evening. You already made the appointment? I was surprised. Usually I handled all scheduling. I did, Marcus confirmed. I figured it was the least I could do. Show you I'm serious about this. Thank you, I said, and meant it. I also talked to my boss about adjusting my schedule, he continued. I'm going to leave work at 4:30 3 days a week to handle afternoon kid pickup and dinner. No more you rushing from work to handle everything while I stay late at the office unnecessarily. These concrete actions meant more than 1,000 apologies could have. And I ordered something, Marcus said, pulling out his phone to show me. It should arrive next week. On his screen was a beautiful custom diploma frame, engraved with my name, degree, and graduation date. Much nicer than the basic frame I'd planned to buy eventually. For your office, he explained. Everyone who walks in should see immediately that they're dealing with someone who has a master's in business administration with honors. Someone who worked her ass off for 5 years while juggling everything else. Someone extraordinary. I felt tears prick my eyes. It's perfect. That night, we slept in the same bed for the first time in over a week. No sex, just closeness. Marcus holding me while I let myself be held. I love you, he whispered. And I'm going to prove every day that you made the right choice coming back. I love you too, I said. But Marcus, love isn't enough. I need respect and partnership and equality. Love without those things is just empty words. I know, he said. And I'm going to show you all of those things. I promise. This promise felt different than the broken one before my graduation. This one was backed by action already taken, by therapy appointments made, by schedule changes implemented. by a willingness to be uncomfortable while learning to be better. The following Monday, I started my new position as Senior Financial Analyst at Stevenson Financial Group. My own office with a window view. My name on the door. A 40% salary increase that made me the higher earner in our marriage. My new boss, Sandra Williams, called me into her office on my first day. "Rebecca, I want you to know how impressed we all were by your dedication to completing your MBA while maintaining your performance here," she said. That level of commitment and time management is exactly what we need in senior leadership. "Thank you," I said, feeling a swell of pride. This was what I'd worked for, this recognition from people who valued competence and achievement. "We're putting you on the Peterson account," Sandra continued. "It's our biggest client, and they specifically requested someone with advanced expertise. This is your chance to shine. The Peterson account. I'd been angling for access to it for years. Now it was mine." Over the next few weeks, life settled into a new rhythm. A better rhythm. Marcus actually followed through on his promises. He took over afternoon pickups and dinner 3 nights a week. The meals were simple, but they were done. The kids adjusted to the new chore chart with minimal complaining once they realized I was serious about consequences. Our first family therapy session was uncomfortable. The therapist, Dr. Lisa Park, made everyone talk about their feelings regarding the graduation incident. Tyler cried. Emma got defensive. Marcus owned his mistakes. I expressed hurt I'd been holding for years. By the end, we all felt raw, but somehow closer. Dr. Park gave us homework. Each family member had to identify one specific way they could better support the others. And we had to actually implement those actions, not just talk about them. Tyler volunteered to have dinner with me once a week, just the 2 of us. Mom and son time, he called it. A chance to reconnect after years of him growing distant during my school years. Emma offered to be my office helper on weekends, organizing my work papers and making sure I took breaks. She liked feeling important and involved in my career. Marcus committed to handling all dinner planning and grocery shopping indefinitely. "You've done it for 12 years, he said. "I can handle it now." The couples therapy with Dr. Chen was harder. He made us dig into patterns that went back to the beginning of our marriage, ways I'd enabled Marcus's lack of participation by doing everything myself, ways he'd taken advantage of my competence and reliability without appreciation. "You both created this dynamic," Dr. Chen explained. "Rebecca, you set the bar so high and did everything so well that Marcus never had to step up. And Marcus, you let her do it while complaining that she wasn't present enough. Both patterns need to break. It was difficult work. Sometimes we left sessions angry at each other. Sometimes we left angry at ourselves, but slowly, things improved. 3 weeks after returning home, I finally felt ready to address the situation with my parents and Kevin. I'd been avoiding their calls, responding to texts with brief, polite messages that revealed nothing. But Dr. Chen was right. Unresolved family issues don't just disappear. They fester. I invited each of them over separately. I didn't want to be outnumbered or have them gang up on me with unified excuses. My mother came first. She showed up at my door with a massive flower arrangement and a wrapped gift. "Sweetheart, I've been so worried," she began, already emotional. "You've barely talked to us." "Come in, Mom," I said, not reaching for the flowers or gift. "We need to talk." We sat in the living room. I'd chosen to do this when Marcus had the kids at Tyler's basketball practice. This conversation needed to happen without witnesses. "I don't understand why you're so angry," my mother began, clutching a tissue. "We said we were sorry about the graduation." "What more do you want?" "I want you to understand why I'm hurt," I said calmly. "And I want you to acknowledge a pattern that's existed my entire life." "What pattern?" I pulled out a list I'd made during my therapy sessions. Specific examples spanning decades. When I was 8, I qualified for the state spelling bee. You and Dad said you'd come, but at the last minute, you went to Kevin's football playoff game instead. That was one time. When I was 16, I was inducted into the National Honor Society. You forgot completely because it was the same week as Kevin's homecoming game where he was crowned king. My mother shifted uncomfortably. When I got accepted to my top choice college with a full scholarship. You spent the celebratory dinner talking about Kevin's new job offer. I continued through the list, each memory carefully documented, each one showing the clear pattern of favoritism. And now, as an adult, I spent 5 years earning a master's degree while working full-time and raising 2 children. The graduation ceremony was the culmination of the hardest thing I've ever done. And you chose a barbecue at Kevin's house instead. My mother was crying now. I didn't realize. You did realize, Mom. Or you should have. I told you the date 6 months in advance. I reminded you multiple times. You wrote it on your calendar. But when Kevin scheduled his party, you didn't even hesitate. You chose him again, like you always do. We love you both equally. Then show it equally, I said firmly. Because right now, your actions don't match your words. We sat in heavy silence. What do you want from me? She finally asked. I want you to stop making excuses. I want you to acknowledge that Kevin has always been your favorite and that it's hurt me my entire life. And I want real change going forward. Of course Kevin isn't my favorite. Mom, stop lying to both of us. He is. Dad told me himself during our phone call that you light up differently when Kevin walks in a room. That you brag about him constantly to your friends but barely mention me. He admitted it. Why can't you? My mother looked shocked that my father had said this. She struggled to find words. I suppose I've always related more easily to Kevin. He's more like me, outgoing, social. You've always been more serious, more driven. I didn't know how to connect with you the same way. At least it was honesty, finally. So instead of learning how to connect with me, you just gave up and focused on the child who was easier? I asked. She winced. When you put it that way, it sounds terrible. It is terrible. Mom. And it's damaged our relationship in ways I'm not sure can be fully repaired. I don't want to lose you, she said. Genuine desperation in her voice now. Then things have to change. Starting now, I laid out my boundaries. Clear expectations for our relationship going forward. Regular phone calls where she actually asked about my life and listened. Equal effort put into maintaining relationships with both her children. Acknowledgement when she slipped back into old patterns. And Mom, if you ever choose Kevin's event over mine again without a legitimate emergency, I'm done. I won't subject myself to being second best anymore. She left subdued, taking her flowers and gift with her. I didn't know if our conversation would lead to lasting change. But at least I'd said what needed to be said. My father came the next day. He was more defensive than my mother had been. Your mother is devastated, he began. You were too harsh with her. I was honest with her, I corrected. There's a difference. She's your mother. You need to show some respect. Respect works both ways, Dad, and she hasn't respected me or my accomplishments for most of my life. We went through similar territory. I showed him the same list. He tried to argue that I was remembering things wrong or reading too much into innocent situations. But when I got to more recent examples like them spending 3 weeks helping Kevin renovate his kitchen but being too busy to watch their grandchildren during my final exams, he had no defense. We guys didn't think you needed us, he finally admitted. You've always been so capable, so independent. Kevin needs more help. So because I'm responsible and competent, I don't deserve support, I asked. That's your logic? He had no answer for that. Dad, do you know what message that sends? It tells me that I was punished my whole life for being the good kid, for being self-sufficient, for not being a burden. That's not what we intended. But it's what happened, I interrupted, and intention doesn't erase impact. We talked for over an hour. It wasn't as emotional as the conversation with my mother, but it was perhaps more revealing. My father's perspective on parenting was simply, give more help to the child who needs it most. He'd never considered that the easy child might also need support, might also crave recognition and celebration and parental involvement. I don't know how to fix this, he said eventually. It's been this way for 35 years. You start by acknowledging it's wrong, I said. You start by making different choices going forward. And you accept that rebuilding trust takes time. Kevin was last, and honestly, I was least hopeful about that conversation. He showed up at my house on a Saturday afternoon, driving his expensive sports car and wearing designer clothes that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. Sis, he greeted me with forced casualness. Good to see you. Kevin, I responded coolly. Come in. We sat at the kitchen table. I didn't offer him coffee or snacks. This wasn't a social visit. Look, I know you're mad about the whole graduation thing, he began. But it was honestly just bad timing. These things happen. It wasn't bad timing, Kevin. You deliberately scheduled your party on my graduation day and then refused to change it even after I told you about the conflict. He shrugged. I had already invited 40 people. Important business contacts. I couldn't just reschedule. But I could just miss my own graduation ceremony? I asked. That was your logic? I figured you'd understand, Kevin said, seemingly oblivious to how offensive that statement was. You've always been the understanding one. The flexible one. The doormat, you mean? I said flatly. That got his attention. Kevin's eyes widened slightly. He wasn't used to this version of me. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is, I interrupted. You've spent our entire lives taking advantage of the fact that I'm responsible and accommodating. You knew I'd bend. You knew Mom and Dad would choose your event over mine because they always do, and you counted on that. Kevin shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Come on, Rebecca, don't be so dramatic. Dramatic? I felt my voice rising despite my intention to stay calm. I spent 5 years working full-time, raising 2 kids, and earning a master's degree. The graduation was the culmination of the hardest thing I've ever done. And you couldn't move a barbecue? It wasn't just a barbecue. I don't care what it was. I slammed my hand on the table, surprising both of us. Your event, whatever it was not more important than supporting your sister on one of the most significant days of her life. The fact that you think it was tells me everything I need to know about how you see me. Kevin looked genuinely taken aback. Maybe no one had ever called him out quite this directly before. I didn't realize it meant that much to you, he said finally. Of course you didn't, because you never ask. You never consider anyone's needs but your own. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, to my surprise, his shoulders sagged. You're right, he said quietly. I've been a selfish asshole. The admission shocked me more than anything else that had happened. I've always been the center of attention in our family, Kevin continued, staring at his hands. Mom and Dad made everything about me. And I just got used to it, expected it, never questioned whether it was fair. It wasn't fair, I said. It's never been fair. I know that now. He looked up at me. Seeing how hurt you were at the hospital, hearing the things you said, it made me realize I've been treating you like you don't matter. Like you're just supposed to be there, supporting me, with nothing in return. That's exactly how you've treated me, I confirmed. I'm sorry, Rebecca. Really sorry. Not just for the graduation, but for all of it. 38 years of being the golden child while you got scraps. His apology sounded genuine. But I'd learned the hard way that words were easy. What are you going to do differently? I asked. Kevin thought for a moment. Honestly, I don't know. I've never had to think about anyone else's needs before. But I want to learn. Will you help me? Help you learn to be a decent brother? I raised an eyebrow. That's not really my job, Kevin. I know, he said quickly. But I'm asking anyway, because I don't want to lose you. And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen if I don't change. I studied his face. He looked genuinely concerned, genuinely worried about losing our relationship. Maybe there was hope after all. Here's what I need from you, I said slowly. First, I need you to acknowledge the favoritism in our family. Not just to me, but to Mom and Dad. They need to hear from you that the dynamic was wrong. Kevin nodded. I can do that. Second, I need you to actually show up for my life. Ask about my job. Remember my kids' names and ages. Call me sometimes for reasons other than bragging about your latest purchase. Done, he said. And third, I looked him directly in the eyes. If there's ever another conflict between your event and something important in my life, you reschedule. No excuses, no justifications. You just do it. What if I can't? Then you're not serious about changing, I cut him off. And we don't have a real relationship. Kevin was quiet for a long moment. Then he extended his hand across the table. Deal, he said. I'll do all of that. You have my word. I shook his hand, but said, words are easy, Kevin. Actions are what matter. Show me you mean it. I will, he promised. After he left, I sat alone in my kitchen, feeling emotionally drained but oddly hopeful. For the first time in our lives, I'd been completely honest with my family. Set real boundaries. Demanded respect. Whether they would actually change remained to be seen. But at least I'd stopped accepting crumbs and pretending I was full. 6 weeks after my graduation, something unexpected happened. Kevin called me on a Tuesday evening. "Hey sis, you busy Saturday afternoon?" I immediately tensed. "Why?" "Because I'm throwing something at my place and I need you to come. It's important." Here we go again, I thought. Another Kevin event where I was expected to drop everything. "Kevin, I have plans with Emma on Saturday." "Bring her," he interrupted. "Bring all of them. Marcus, Tyler, Emma. Actually, I need all of you there." "What is this about?" I asked suspiciously. "Just trust me, please. 2 o'clock. I promise you won't regret it." Against my better judgment, I agreed. Saturday afternoon, we pulled up to Kevin's waterfront property. The driveway was full of cars. My heart sank. Another huge party where I'd be an afterthought. But when we walked into his backyard, I stopped dead in my tracks. There were maybe 20 people there. Not 40 or 50, just close family and a handful of my friends. Linda from work, Rachel, my sister who'd flown in from Denver, my parents, and right in the center of the outdoor space was a banner. "Congratulations, Rebecca, MBA graduate with honors." Tables were set up with my favorite foods. A professional photographer was there, and on an easel near the pool was a blown-up photo of me in my graduation gown, diploma in hand. I felt tears immediately spring to my eyes. Kevin walked over, looking nervous. "I know it's late, and I know it doesn't make up for missing the actual ceremony, but I wanted to celebrate you properly, the way I should have from the beginning. Kevin," I couldn't find words. "Let her through," he called out, and people parted to reveal a table set up with more gifts and cards. My mother approached, crying. "Sweetheart, we're so proud of you. I made a slideshow of photos from your whole academic journey, from kindergarten graduation through last month. I want everyone to see how hard you've worked your entire life." My father handed me a framed collage of acceptance letters, report cards, and awards spanning 3 decades. "You've always been brilliant," he said quietly. "I'm sorry it took me so long to properly acknowledge it." Rachel hugged me tight. "Your brother called me 3 weeks ago. Said he was planning this and needed my help. He's actually been working really hard on it, Becca. He means it." The party was beautiful, thoughtful, everything I'd wanted after my graduation and more. Kevin gave a speech in front of everyone. "Most of you know I'm not great at this emotional stuff," he began. "But I need to say something publicly. Rebecca is my little sister, and I've taken her for granted our entire lives. She's been the responsible one, the achiever, the person who just handles everything quietly while I made noise and demanded attention." People nodded, listening intently. 6 weeks ago, she graduated with a master's degree in business administration, with honors, while working full-time and raising 2 kids. It was a huge accomplishment, and I scheduled a stupid barbecue on the same day. Not because I forgot, but because I genuinely didn't think her achievement was as important as my party. He paused, his voice thick with emotion. I was wrong, so incredibly wrong, and Rebecca called me out on it. She called all of us out on years of treating her like she didn't matter, and she was right to do it. Kevin looked directly at me. "I'm sorry, sis, for the graduation, and for 35 years of being a selfish jerk. You deserved better. You deserve better. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the brother you should have had all along." I was full-on crying now. So was my mother. Even Marcus looked emotional. "So everyone here, raise your glass," Kevin continued. "To Rebecca Cooper, the smartest, hardest-working, most determined person I know. To her master's degree. To her new position as senior financial analyst. And to her finally telling her family to get their act together. We're so proud of you, and we love you." "To Rebecca," everyone chorused. The rest of the afternoon was perfect. People actually asked about my studies, my new job, my goals. They listened when I answered. They treated my achievement like it mattered. The photographer took family photos, real ones, where everyone looked happy and genuine. My parents stood with their arms around both Kevin and me equally. No more favoring one over the other in even the small gesture of positioning. At one point, I found myself alone with my mother near the dessert table. "I've been in therapy," she said quietly. "Your father and I both have, with Dr. Morrison downtown. We're working on understanding why we played favorites and how to break those patterns." "Really?" I was stunned. Really, she confirmed. What you said to us was hard to hear. But it was true. And we don't want to lose you, Rebecca. We don't want to keep hurting you. Mom, I struggled with my emotions. You don't have to say anything, she said, pulling me into a hug. Just know that we're trying. We're really trying. And we'll keep trying, even when it's hard. Tyler and Emma were having a great time swimming with their cousins, but periodically they'd come over to check on me, give me hugs, tell me they were proud of me. Marcus stood beside me as the sun started setting over the water. This is what you deserved all along, he said softly. Recognition, celebration, people showing up for you. Yeah, I agreed. It is. I'm glad Kevin did this, Marcus continued. But I'm more glad that you demanded it, that you stopped accepting less than you deserve. I leaned against him. I learned it from therapy. Dr. Kim taught me that I don't have to earn love through perfection and sacrifice, that I'm allowed to have needs and boundaries. Best lesson ever, Marcus said, kissing the top of my head. As the party wound down, Kevin pulled me aside one more time. There's one more thing, he said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a check, a substantial check, made out to me. Kevin, what is this? Your tuition reimbursement, he said. I know you took out loans to pay for your MBA. This should cover most of them. Consider it 5 years of birthday and Christmas gifts I should have been more thoughtful about. I can't accept this. Yes, you can, he insisted. Please, let me do this. Let me help make things right. I looked at the check. It was enough to pay off my entire student loan balance, with some left over. Thank you, I whispered. This means more than you know. You earned it, Rebecca. You earned all of this and more. Driving home that evening with my exhausted but happy family, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Complete peace. The past 6 weeks had been brutal. Confronting my family, establishing boundaries, demanding respect, it had all been so hard, but it had been worth it. Mom, Emma said sleepily from the back seat. That was the best party ever. Uncle Kevin did a really good job. He did, I agreed. And Mom, Tyler added. I'm sorry we missed your real graduation, but I'm glad we were there today. Me too, buddy. Marcus reached over and squeezed my hand. A silent acknowledgement of how far we'd all come. 3 months after my graduation, life had transformed in ways I never imagined possible. My new position at Stevenson Financial Group was everything I'd worked for and more. The Peterson account that Sandra had given me? I'd exceeded every expectation. Brought in 3 new subsidiary accounts, increased their portfolio value by 18% in just 2 quarters. Last week, Sandra called me into her office. Rebecca, the partners have been reviewing your performance. We want to offer you a promotion to Associate Director of Client Services. Associate Director, a position I'd dreamed about but never thought I'd achieve so quickly. The promotion comes with another significant salary increase, Sandra continued, and a seat at the partners' table for strategic planning meetings. You've proven yourself invaluable to this firm. I accepted on the spot. When I called Marcus to tell him, he screamed with excitement, literally screamed so loud that his co-workers came running to his desk. We're celebrating tonight, he declared. Fancy dinner, just the 2 of us. My parents can watch the kids. That evening, at a beautiful restaurant overlooking the city, Marcus raised his wine glass. To my brilliant wife, who never gave up on her dreams even when it was incredibly hard. To partners who show up, I countered, clinking my glass against his because he had shown up. Every single day for the past 3 months. The couples therapy with Dr. Chen had been challenging but transformative. We'd developed new patterns of communication, new ways of dividing household responsibilities, new appreciation for each other's contributions. Marcus had stepped up in ways I never thought possible. He'd taken over dinner planning entirely, handled most of the kids' school communication. Even organized Tyler's birthday party last month without asking me to do a single thing. How does it feel? Marcus asked. Finally getting everything you worked for? Surreal, I admitted. Sometimes I wake up and think I'm dreaming, that I'll blink and be back to struggling as a junior analyst with no recognition. You're not dreaming, Marcus assured me. You fought for this. You demanded respect and recognition, and you got it because you deserve it. The kids had adjusted remarkably well to our new family dynamic. Tyler's arm had healed completely, and he'd become surprisingly helpful around the house. He'd taken over lawn maintenance without being asked, saying he wanted to contribute more. Emma had become my little shadow again. Not in a clingy way, but in a sweet way where she genuinely wanted to be involved in my life. She asked about my work, helped organize my home office, and proudly told her friends that her mom was basically a boss at a big company. Last week, Emma's school had a career day where parents could come speak about their jobs. She'd specifically asked me to be her presenter. Standing in front of 30 fifth graders, I told them about being a financial analyst. But more importantly, I told them about going back to school as an adult, about working hard for your dreams, even when it's difficult, about never giving up. My mom is the strongest person I know, Emma told her classmates proudly. She shows me that women can do anything. I cried in the school parking lot afterward. Happy tears this time. My relationship with my parents had slowly improved. They'd been consistent about calling weekly, actually asking about my life and listening to my answers. They'd visited twice, making sure to spend equal time with Kevin and me. Last month, they'd come to watch Tyler's basketball game. Then the next day, they'd come to my office to see my new workspace and take me to lunch. Equal effort, equal attention. We're learning, my mother said during that lunch. It's not always easy to break old patterns, but we're committed to doing better. I see that, I told her, and I appreciate it. Kevin had been the biggest surprise of all. He called every Sunday just to chat. He'd asked detailed questions about my new position, actually remembering details from previous conversations. He'd taken Tyler and Emma on an uncle day last month, giving Marcus and me time alone, and most shockingly, 2 weeks ago, Kevin had invited me to a major real estate industry event as his guest. I want people to meet my brilliant sister, he'd said. The one with the MBA who's killing it in finance. I'm tired of being the only successful sibling in our family story. Time for people to know about you, too. At the event, he'd introduced me to everyone with genuine pride. This is Rebecca, my sister. She just made associate director at Stevenson Financial, youngest person in the firm's history to reach that position. People had been impressed, had asked for my card, had treated me like someone important. Kevin noticed my surprise. What? I told you I was going to change. Did you think I wasn't serious? I guess I'm still getting used to it, I admitted. Get used to it, he said firmly. Because I'm done being the selfish brother. From now on, we celebrate each other. Deal? Deal, I agreed. Even Rachel, my sister in Denver, had been more present. We'd started a weekly video call where we just talked about life. She'd become my sounding board for work challenges and family dynamics. I'm so proud of how you handled everything, Rachel told me during our last call. You could have just accepted being treated poorly forever, but you didn't. You demanded better and got it. It wasn't easy, I said. The best things never are, she replied. Last weekend, our family had hosted Thanksgiving dinner at our house. The whole extended family came. My parents, Kevin, Rachel, and her family, Marcus's parents. Before dinner, Marcus asked everyone to share what they were grateful for. My mother went first. I'm grateful for second chances, for a daughter brave enough to tell me hard truths so I could become a better mother. My father added, I'm grateful for both my children and for finally learning to show them equal love and support. Kevin surprised everyone by getting emotional. I'm grateful for my sister, who refused to let me keep being a selfish asshole, who loved me enough to call me out, who gave me the chance to be better. When it was my turn, I looked around the table at all these faces I loved. I'm grateful for boundaries, I said. For learning that demanding respect doesn't mean you're selfish. That putting yourself first sometimes is actually healthy. And I'm grateful for a family willing to grow and change, even when it's uncomfortable. Tyler raised his water glass. And we're all grateful for Mom finally getting the recognition she deserves, even though we had to learn it the hard way. Everyone laughed, but there was truth in his words. We had learned the hard way, through missed graduations and hospital visits and painful confrontations and therapy sessions. But we'd learned. After dinner, I found myself alone in the kitchen doing dishes. Marcus came in to help. Remember 5 years ago when you decided to get your MBA? He asked, drying a plate. How could I forget? It was one of the hardest decisions I ever made. Do you regret it? All the sacrifice? I thought about that. The missed bedtimes, the exhaustion, the loneliness, the empty seats at my graduation. No, I said finally, because it led to this. Not just the career success, but the personal growth. I learned to value myself, to demand respect, to not accept being invisible. You were never invisible to me, Marcus said softly, but I did take you for granted. I'm sorry for that. I know you are, I said, and I've forgiven you, because you've shown me through actions that you've changed. He kissed me gently. I love you, Rebecca Cooper, my brilliant, strong, unstoppable wife. I love you too, I said, my partner who finally figured out what that word really means. Later that night, after everyone had gone home and the kids were asleep, I stood in my home office looking at my framed diploma on the wall. Rebecca Ann Cooper, Master of Business Administration, with honors below. It was a photo from Kevin's party. Me surrounded by my whole family, everyone smiling genuinely. A moment of real celebration and love. And next to that was a small framed note card that Dr. Kim had given me during one of our last therapy sessions. You are enough, not because of what you achieve, but because of who you are. The achievements just help others see what was always there. I read those words every day, reminding myself that my worth wasn't determined by others' recognition, that I'd always been valuable, even when no one acknowledged it. But damn, it felt good to finally be seen. My phone buzzed with a text from Linda. Saw the announcement about your promotion in the company newsletter, drinks to celebrate? I smiled and texted back, absolutely, I'm buying. I can afford it now. Another text came in, this time from Kevin. Sunday dinner at my place. Bringing someone I want you to meet. She's a corporate lawyer, and I think you two would have a lot to talk about. My brother was dating someone with a serious career, someone smart and accomplished, and he wanted us to meet, wanted to connect his romantic life with his family life. Growth. Real, tangible growth. I looked out my office window at the Seattle skyline lit up against the night sky. Somewhere out there were other women struggling like I had been, working themselves to exhaustion, sacrificing everything for families who didn't appreciate them, feeling invisible despite doing everything right. I wished I could tell them all, don't accept crumbs and pretend you're full. Don't wait for permission to value yourself. Don't be afraid to demand the respect you deserve. It might cost you. It might be uncomfortable. People might get upset. But on the other side of that discomfort is freedom, is peace, is a life where you're not just surviving, but thriving. My graduation day had started with 5 empty seats and a broken heart. But it had ended with boundaries set, truths told, and a family forced to finally see me. Sometimes the worst days lead to the best transformations. Sometimes you have to fall apart completely to rebuild yourself stronger. Sometimes the people who love you need to be shocked into showing it properly. And sometimes, just sometimes, demanding better actually works. I turned off my office light and headed to bed. Tomorrow was a new day, a day where I'd walk into my office as associate director, where I'd be respected and valued and seen, where I'd continue being Rebecca Cooper, Not the invisible woman working in shadows, but the brilliant professional who refused to accept anything less than she deserved. And it all started with 5 empty seats at a graduation ceremony.